Hi there, this is Sandra King from Boccia England. It's day 19 of the hashtag Boccia at Home video training series. And today we're going to talk about IAPs, or individual action plans, or individual athlete plans as they're sometimes known. So it's really important that when you're coaching an athlete, or when you as an athlete are training, you focus your training on certain areas that are going to help you right now. So we all have heard about the coaching journey, the training journey, the development journey of the athlete, and so on. And the IAP is a way of looking at where you are now and what you can do next in order to develop yourself as an athlete, or to develop your athletes that you're working with. And it does what it says on the tin. It's individual to that athlete. So there is no one size fits all. If we as coaches coach everybody exactly the same, that coaching will be useful for some people, more useful for others, and maybe not really useful at all for some, which is why we differentiate our coaching. We should be looking, if we're looking in a club situation or across an academy, we should be looking to mix up our coaching. So while we may have the same theme, we may individualize what we do with different athletes. Perfect example of that would be if you want to do something at some distance. Now, so for some athletes, reaching 5 meters on the court might be out of their comfort zone. And it might be that's where you need to be developing them next. That's just outside their comfort zone. Whereas for somebody else, reaching 8 meters might be easy. And so we need to be pushing them to 9. So in that way, we might all be doing something similar about distance, but what's comfortable for me, what's comfortable for another athlete is going to look different. So an IAP looks at the 4 key areas that we think of for an athlete. So we think of an athlete as a physical being. Now, clearly an athlete has to fit a classification, but also we're thinking of how is that athlete controlling their physical self? How are they developing their physical self? We then look at the technical aspects. How does that athlete throw? How does the athlete control the throw? And so on. And we look at the tactical. So what does the athlete understand about the game? Can they bring tactics and creative thinking into their gameplay? And finally, we look at mindset. What are the athlete's performance behaviours like? How well can the athlete cope with the pressures of competition and training? So we have a very basic IAP form here, which I will upload for you. And it just has those key areas: physical, technical, tactical, and mindset down here. And you'll see there is only one square against each. And that is because we've got to focus our coaching. So it may be that if you're starting in your boccia career, you can think of lots of things to do in physical or technical or tactical, but actually doing them all at the same time is not going to help you achieve the next steps. You need to look at what is each step. Now, for our academies, we've started putting together, if you like, a menu of those steps. It's not ready to be shared elsewhere at the moment, but it's something that if you're a club coach, you might want to be thinking, what's the first thing that a player might need to be doing? On the other hand, if you look at the video library that I've been putting out, that video library is building up those steps. So in fact, in the physical area, one of the first things that I did on video was to talk about the warm-up and stretches, and then go into the warm-up using TheraBands. So that's a big clue that we see those as really important things, and those things underpin other things that happen. So a good example is, I know that if you want to reach the back of the court, the likelihood is you're going to need a good sitting posture. That will lead you to being able to have a good delivery process. And the better your posture is in your delivery process, the more you are able to add the strength and the power to reach the back of the court. So everything is intertwined. So use the videos in order to give IAP targets to the athletes. And then we've got some more columns here. So this first column is what we think we want to improve. And then this next one is how we're going to improve it. So this is really something for the coaches to be guiding the athletes on. But once the athletes get to understand some of the principles of coaching, they can start to have some ownership and make some suggestions themselves. So we've already talked about something like STEP, which is how you change the space, the task, the equipment or the people in order to make something appropriate to an athlete. So it may be that one athlete is working on delivering a layup or a placement shot at 3 meters. Another athlete might have exactly the same target, but at a different distance. That would be fine. And then there's a column here that says, how do we know about that? How do we understand what will we recognize as we've achieved that? And then the very last column here is what date is that going to be achieved by? So do we think this is quite a short-term win? It's something that with a couple of weeks training, actually the athlete should get the hang of, or is it going to be a bit of a longer term thing? So we've got to sort of knuckle in. It's going to take a few months to make that change. At the moment, it would be perfectly appropriate for athletes to have a COVID-19 development plan if they want to engage in bocce at the moment. So it's no use an athlete with a current IAP that says throw the balls to 9 meters if actually they can only throw the ball to 3 meters because that's the size of the space they've got available to them. So right at the moment, if an athlete wants to still be doing some bocce training, they should have some specific IAP targets that are relevant to the current situation that they're in. So they might be thinking, well, when I get back onto court, I suspect I'm going to be tired because I'm not used to it. So actually, I want to work more on my physical side, my strength and my stamina, so that when I do go back to training on a court, I can cope with that. That might be a very good thing to be doing at the moment. And the last thing I want to talk about is athlete ownership. And actually, that's where we move over from the tactical to the mindset side of things. So having an IAP is actually part of your mindset challenges. Having ownership of it is the thing that we're looking for. Athletes who understand their IAPs, they may come back with a suggestion of what they want to tackle next. And indeed, they might be the ones that are driving it completely. So there will be a balance, and it may be that at the start, the coach is up here doing all the work and the athlete is down here listening to it. And gradually, as time goes on, the coach's contribution will become less, the athlete's contribution will come more, until you might get to a point where the athlete is controlling it more. Or somewhere in the middle is a good balance as well, where the coach has input, the athlete has input, it's negotiated and discussed, and together they make that plan about what thing it is they want to develop next. So I will be uploading with this the blank IAP plan. I've also got some lovely feedback from some of the athletes who are in the talent pathway, either at an academy or in the England Performance Group, who are currently using IAPs. And I'm going to attach some of those thoughts as well, because it'll be really useful for you to see from an athlete's perspective the benefits of having an IAP. Okay, we'll have lots of fun with that. And as usual, I'll see you again in a couple of days. Bye.